of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please have all cell phones remain off during the meeting. I look for approval of the agenda.
Get one?
That'll be right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item 5, public appearances and citizens' comments. As much as I'm going to read. Would you like to speak on something there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You're all we got.
Item 6, President's Report. Item A, I'd like to appoint Lacey Bainbridge back to the board. Any discussion?
Is that a motion or how do we do that?
I made the appointment, so,
Just does it.
yeah, but we can need a,
We do need a motion and a vote.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Move to approve Roger's appointment.
I'm sorry.
okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item B, this is a reminder of 7/24 and 7/25 for the administrator interviews. We did have one person pull out, Anthony Brown, so we'll only be interviewing 3.
We have to readjust the schedule. And you don't have to be here until 8:30. Oh, nice.
Oh, that's just luxurious.
They're gonna.
But this isn't the right names here, is it?
Yep,
Oh,
Anthony Brown.
is the one that pulled out, okay.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Planning.
I'm 8:30, right?
Yeah, I'll be here at 7:45, so then they're gonna work on writing exercises all at one time. We're gonna find 3 computers for them.
Oh,
And then if
okay,
everybody comes at 8:30.
okay. They only figured they need a half an hour for the writing exercise? Okay.
Well, they actually have, they have 45 minutes. They want to meet with
Oh,
you
okay,
guys
I
for
see,
15 minutes
yeah.
to kind of go over.
Okay.
I don't know if you're interested in, they prepared a kind of a finalist information list there. If you guys are interested in that as well. And then the other piece that I need to find out for name tags, especially for the Friday night event, if you're bringing a guest.
I'm bringing Kent. I think he's coming.
Larry's
coming as well.
Larry's coming, okay, fine.
As far as I.
I haven't confirmed it with her for sure, but I think she is.
Okay,
I haven't confirmed it either.
okay, would you like a name tag made for him?
Sure.
Yes. Okay.
I wasn't aware that we were supposed to, but I can scrape somebody up if it's.
She'll set it on the sheet.
The operating board is great. Significant other.
Significant
If you have
other.
someone you'd like a name tag made
So
for,
when
you
we-
can let me
when we
know.
I'll think about it.
Say,
There's a couple
let's
options.
scrape somebody else.
Okay. And then the questions, I think, did you get a chance to send the questions back to him?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I just did
And
that
Mark,
today. I was thinking that I'd already done it, but I don't think I did. So if they say that.
they said the guiders. Yep, I
Okay,
talked to them this
send them
morning.
twice, but I think I never sent them. I thought I did.
Okay. And Mark is out of the States, so they're just gonna put some questions
Okay.
in that nobody else was asking. And then they'll come up with like a script for you guys for, so.
You know, I'm a little bit cautious or concerned, I don't know what the right word would be, now with only having, you know, 3, we had initially talked about 5, we settled on 4, and now we're down to 3. I'm afraid that we're just maybe a little skinny at 3, but I don't know, I was just looking over the agenda, I don't know if there's anything we can do to tweak that.
Well, Lynn and I talked a little bit about that, and the next guy with the number of votes, he's like an 8-hour drive away, and it'd be kind of short notice to, we thought, I mean,
Yeah.
what is the board think of that. I mean, when we interviewed, when we hired Nick, we only did 3.
I have a question. So it's our option though, if we aren't happy with any of them, right?
Right.
We can start
Right.
over,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I was comfortable with 3, other than, obviously 2 would not be good, but.
No.
And I would have had 4, but 3 I think is good. And like you say,
yeah.
if we just need to know, we don't have to choose.
My only concern with starting over, when we, went through the police chief interviews and we had to start over, it got long, it got tedious, and people got restless.
Well, there's that, and plus we're putting the money out this time for,
Yeah.
For PAA.
I was just, I think we can find somebody.
3 solid candidates here. If I felt iffy about the
Yeah,
candidates.
they are solid.
I
thought
think
so
they
too.
are.
We'll see, like you said, we can always, if there's nothing that, no one that really seems to fit, we will go back to the drawing board.
I would still lobby for the experienced local candidate, but I think I was in the minority on that opinion, so I'll just throw that out.
Okay. Item 7, approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Committee and commissions, public work, public safety.
The first is a special event permit for the fire department Fire Fest. This is annual. The only difference is the chief has asked that extra police coverage between 7:30 PM and 12:30 AM, and everything else looks good. Insurance on file, and Public Works recommended approval. Public safety.
So when there's extra police coverage, do they cover the cost or do we?
They're required to cover their cost, and he has talked to them about that.
I'll move approval of the special events permit for the fire department Fire Fest on the 1st of August.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2.
The next is a special event permit for the Wilhelm Tell. This is obviously annual with open intoxicants and amplification. However, the streets, the perimeters are going to be expanded. So they're going to request the closure of First Street between 5th and 6th for a tent. And then they're going to move, add Railroad Street to Sugar River Pizza, and then 2nd Street to Odd House to 5th Avenue, 5th Avenue to First.
Wow.
They're going to expand on that. And they're requesting open intoxicants in the area.
Every year.
So it is. I think it'll be a little better for people.
Well, it's fair to all the,
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And everything is going to be contingent on the certificate of insurance. They haven't submitted that yet. Okay, so the approval would have to include a contingency on the insurance certificate.
Did you want to do anything with the porta potties?
With what?
I saw the porta potties on the.
Oh, we
public
did
safety.
talk about porta potties as well, and that was, that's not on here, is it? They recommended, Public Works Public Safety recommended 2 porta potties that they would have to, because what's happening is they're assuming that the people are going to go into businesses to go to the bathroom. I think that's kind of an imposition on businesses, especially those that aren't selling alcohol. So, I don't know, in my opinion, I think 2 porta potties is kind of minimal, extremely minimal.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and I know the art fair has 2 down there, but they keep those locked up until the day of the fair, because if they don't, they're filled up by the day of the art fair. Seriously,
Yeah.
one year they had, and kids went in and threw sticks down those things.
Well, I think 2 is very reasonable,
So I
and
think-
they don't get huge crowds, so it's not like we're talking packed.
And those porta potties are not expensive. We
No.
rented a couple,
Yeah.
a number of years ago.
Ground so then they can have.
And they're pretty good.
some flavor down here.
So what are we thinking? 2, 4?
Oh, just lost the score.
You know, did I touch?
I would think for the crowd in town too would be fine. I mean, like you said, Williamstown isn't what it was years ago.
Don't they usually set up?
Huh?
Don't they usually have that?
They have, we
By
have
the
a dunk.
bank.
Well, I don't know if they ever have for William Tell.
For Tell.
And I know we have one business
It's
in
been
town that
around.
if you don't go in there, if you're not a customer of theirs, they'll point blank tell you can't use the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is
a
an
good
issue.
requirement.
Frankly, I've heard tell of people going behind businesses.
Yeah, I know.
Well, sure.
I think definitely, kind of keep this on the back burner, Peggy. When they have beer, bacon, and cheese next year, they definitely need more for that.
Yeah.
Because there was a
I like
lineup.
that.
How
There
many
was-
do they have?
You need a-
Oh, they headed up that alley, they had probably 6 or 7 maybe. But I think they could put some down maybe in the parking lot of the town garage possibly, or talk to them. Because there was a lineup from there to the corner of the bank. I thought, well, I'm not going there, and then I went into Fred's and there was a lineup to get in there, so I thought, I'll go over to Kleeman's. And there was a lineup to get in there, so I went home.
Well, if
Because
they
it's
just
just-
get the porta potties, then does every business then sort of kick in?
No.
Or, no?
Well, that's a chamber expense,
Okay, the
correct?
change.
Well, it's an
For-
expense
for
of
this,
the
permit.
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 Well, I was thinking, wouldn't it, I mean, a lot of times when you have people with town so large and with this expansive, wouldn't it be wise to have 2 on one end and 2 on the other? I mean, I know when we rented them, they were like $125. It was minimal. It was so, it was, I don't know.
The application asks for that information on, and I think it gives some guidelines. We also have attached to the application, like a FEMA guideline based on the crowd you're supposed to be
Okay,
expecting.
follow
How
me.
many,
Okay, so that's pretty good. Then they can.
Well, then that, we could put a minimum of 2 or something,
Yeah.
however you want to word it.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I,
I can. Sure. I would approve the special events permit for William Tell for 9/4 through 9/6 of 2015, contingent upon the certificate of insurance and the recommendation for the number of, no, and contingent upon the certificate of insurance and porta potties as recommended by the FEMA guidelines.
I'll second that.
do you call it, no?
just the FEMA guidelines on an app.
I don't know why I find it amusing that FEMA has something in a
Maybe
I guess
people
it-
get in their free time.
For
It's
festival.
very helpful. It's an emergency.
Yes, part of it, but they probably then are aware of how many you need for.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 3,
Okay, I don't know if I can summarize this very well, but on 11th Avenue, between Railroad and First Street, there is a storm sewer that has been that was installed years ago, made of steel. And the bottom has rusted out, and they have, including, isn't it not pea gravel, what's it called, storm gravel? What kind of gravel is that, those big gravel?
wash those.
Washstone, they've continued to include that, but it has been deteriorated beyond repair, and it's creating a lot of drainage issues. So they would like to put a new one in at the cost of, I think the higher bid is $27,910 for the 24-inch. Scott recommended that the 18-inch was a few thousand less, but he recommended the big 24-inch to go in there. And then we would have new lines on both ends and not that particular deteriorating one in the middle. It makes sense to hook it up when we have the funding for it, so.
To stormwater fund.
24-inch on both of the sides of it, so it would be the same size as the
Yeah.
side.
I don't know if you remember, but that's the backside of the motel.
No, it's down this side of the bank, right?
Bank.
Yeah,
Oh,
where Mrs. Reiser lives, it's right in front of her house.
There's always something going on there, yeah.
So hopefully this will solve that problem, then we can blacktop it and be done with it.
Yeah.
and then move to repair/replace the storm sewer on 1th Avenue between Mill Road and First Street as per Ben's high school.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item D, Parks and Recreation.
Annual permit for Wilhelm Tell Festival for 9/6/15. That's for our annual event, no problems, certificate insurance on file.
To approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Alright.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 2.
Two.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get the.
You didn't get the
Here.
amended.
I did, but I didn't. I looked at it, thank you. Okay, so, as we received, I believe, yesterday from Lynn, what am I trying to say, the condition report on the chalet, with some thoughts and suggestion that the roof should not be repaired until certain other repairs are made, such as I believe it was the chimney, was it, Lynn?
Yes.
And Lynn, you told me that you had spoken with village council, and the thought was that we could rescind the awarded contract, but we would have to do so quickly before
Well,
the
like a
contract.
meeting
opened.
following when we approved it, should happen
Has to
the
be
next.
tonight.
Yeah, and part of that is so the contractor doesn't
Right.
go out and start purchasing things necessary to perform his work.
The other part of that issue is he resubmitted a bid, putting the logs back up, and that came in $3,000 higher.
That much more?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's another reason we decided to rescind this, relook at it.
Oh, okay.
Because the logs have to go back up if we're going to.
Right, because of the historical
Historic
preservation
preservation,
part. Once it's a
yeah.
historical,
Historic registry.
yeah, then it's gotta go up
Southern
the way
Ashland,
it
so we
was.
have to replace it, and there's no point putting rotten ones back.
Right.
Other than, okay, the increased cost, with the chimney repair, would not this just make the roof thing just come later? But now we're gonna reconsider our bids, of course, but that'll still happen, right?
Well,
I mean, we gotta rethink.
When I said the bottom line,
Oh, I haven't seen it.
the bottom line for repairing all the things that need.
Oh,
fixing
yeah.
Is over
Well, that's
$200,000.
right,
I mean,
275, or only trying to get
do,
down, but it has to be.
do something, but I think that's on the high side. I could.
Well, I thought so too, but the point is, there's a huge lot of work that needs to be done up there, and they pointed out in that survey, whatever the report, that house museums across the state are having trouble making it, Mount Horn ended up closing Monroe because they just couldn't financially keep it open anymore, and I just wonder if
Look at Monroe's.
we aren't having the same kind of issues here. I'd hate to see the chalet not be there anymore, but if it's a lot of money.
Well, Lynn,
I agree.
Lynn has brought up some figures for what we levied and what the chalet has generated for revenues. Did you have that around yet?
Yeah. I just went back to, 2011. So this year we levied $5,475. As of this morning, they brought more money in today, but that isn't included in this. They generated $321 in revenue. We budgeted expenses of $7,475. Yep, $7,475 for this year, not including the air conditioner unit went in on Friday, or the roof, or I don't think the inventory was in here.
No, I don't believe so.
Looking, the last couple of years, the fronts average, well, probably 1,500 in revenue. 1,200 one year, 1,800 the
Per
next.
year?
Yeah. So the rest of that is being, 2014, we levied $4,550, had to come up with another $1,200 at the end of the year. 2013, we didn't levy anything, but we had to transfer almost 7,000 from surplus to balance it at the end of the year.
So I'm just gonna throw this out as a thought. What's more valuable to the village, the collection or the building?
We don't own the collection.
Anything for the collection.
Well, we have legal opinions on that. And what was the last one that you said, Lynn?
The last one was Larry Beckler, who indicated that we fulfilled, based on the deed in 1954 and the affidavit, any restrictions have technically been removed on the use of the property.
And then you, who owns the contents?
Is the will still not enforced because the contents were to go to the
State
historical society
Historical Society.
if we were to sell the building?
I'm gonna have to look further in that. I didn't see that in any of the legal opinions, and I don't know, you mentioned that as part of his will?
Well, someplace was
I've
there
read
a,
that a number of times.
his will was, I read it someplace within the last couple of weeks. I don't know where it was. But it was out there that if we ever give up the collection, I think I agree, it had to go to the State Historical Society, but I don't know if there was a time frame on it or what.
Yeah.
It wasn't his will, it was his obituary.
That's what it was.
That's what.
So if it does belong to the State Historical Society, would it get more tourists to look at it in a state building than it would in ours? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. That's
Well,
a lot of money
the
to,
debate about that, Peg, is that this is a collection of things from around the world. There are hardly any that are really Wisconsin related.
do we have the tourists to view it is it worth it to us to have? I mean, do we get it large? We
Well, I
don't.
think we're gonna be levying for an eternity to support this thing.
Right.
I mean,
I
so
mean, I
far,
can see
$300 and
if
some
you
dollars
have-
this year, and I know the Friends were gonna try to be actively out there fundraising. Have they raised anything yet, Greg? Do you know?
Well, and here's, I guess, where I'll give you some background of, what work I've done with the Friends and so on and so forth. And keep in mind, that's still a fledgling group. They really, they formed 2 years ago. This is really their third year in existence. There have been some successes, there's been some momentum. They were given a goal of, I believe, $2,000 in revenues last year, and they hit that. They hit it between admissions and donations, but they were given a goal and they hit it. Where I think we run into sometimes a little bit of a challenge is they're looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, we've got this collection that needs to be taken care of, we've got this building that needs to be taken care of. The thing that I've repeatedly tried to emphasize is, hey, we've got a bottom line that needs to be taken care of, and we're running out of money. And there has been, in my conversations with them, some commitment to placing a greater emphasis on fundraising. I can't tell you off the top of my head that I know where their status stands this year on fundraising efforts, but I do believe that it's understood that, at some point we do need to stop the bleeding, because we are out of, if when we spend that money on the roof repairs, we're out of our cushion, we're out of our cash reserve is designated for the, for the chalet, specifically for the chalet. So, I've really been emphasizing that there needs to be fundraising energy, and I think one of the things that we need to buy a little bit of time on is to see if there is sentiment in the community to raise funds to support it. It's not huge sums of money that we're talking about here. If they could get to $5,000 or $6,000 a year in fundraising, that would go, along with admissions, that would go a huge portion of the way in stopping the bleeding. I guess what I would ask, consideration I would ask is, let me once again go back to them and stress just how important, how critical the juncture is that we're at, and how critical fundraising is going to be, because there are all these other worthwhile efforts that they're putting in. It's worthwhile to inventory. It's worthwhile to do a building condition report. It's worthwhile certainly to keep the place open and have trained tour guides there. Those are all very important things. But as we're hearing here right now, if we can't stop the bleeding at some point, then there's going to be tough decisions to make. So I do believe there's an understanding amongst the Friends group that we're at a critical juncture with regards to fundraising, and I think they understand that it's critical, that we as a municipality can't really go out and do fundraising.
I
It needs
think
to come
that's
from the
only-
Friends group.
That's only fair for them
Right.
to know that.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, to piggyback on to what you said, they're also just kind of midstream in getting, they just got the designation as an historical site. That then was a first step toward applying for grants. So that has to
Yeah.
happen this year.
Yeah.
They have to get those grants written so that we can underwrite some of the cost of this repair. And part of this is the shock of finally, after perhaps decades, I don't know how long of neglect, we had the condition report done. And that's why we're all going, whoa.
Yeah.
But it's been because of the many years when money has not been put into it.
Well, did you all look at the list of the repair list? I thought some of that was pretty high. I mean, the price for a roof was way more than what.
I think it was
Well,
25,000.
yeah.
Or the
Way
fixtures
more
or the
than what
light
we had
fixtures.
bid.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought some of that stuff was pretty high.
Way beyond
So,
it.
well, may not be that bad, but
And some of the items that are on there as well are items that are not immediately critical.
Right, exactly.
Some of these are gotta haves,
Yeah.
and some of
walls
these
and
are,
roofs are.
And that's where we are now. I think we have to move forward on getting the repairs done that will preserve what's inside.
Well,
But I think once you open that thing up,
an old building is
might
constant
really-
repair.
yeah.
Well, what I
I
want
know
to know
that
is,
wall is gonna be bad in the kitchen.
yeah, I
I
want to
think
know,
Scotty said that he looked at it and the studs are rotten, so it means that they're gonna have to all be tore out.
ultimately, who does the collection belong to? That's the first thing we need to know. I mean, if ultimately it doesn't belong to us, then we're,
I think the high likelihood is if the collection gets turned over to the State
I mean, it's
Historical
beautiful,
Society.
don't get
I
me
think-
wrong, it's a wonderful collection.
Well, I think the reality of it is that the majority of that stuff, if it does get turned over, it'll just be warehoused.
Or sold
Yeah.
Or so,
for a fundraiser for
Yeah.
them.
yeah. I don't think there's
And
any real likelihood it's going to be put out as a display down at the State Historical Society.
I agree with you, Greg.
I think you're so right in saying, though, that a big step in this is awareness in the community. And the chalet people have been trying to get people to get, just sort of at least know they're there, but they have not said, well, we really need you or we're gonna be gone.
Against the wall.
I mean, they
Yeah.
haven't made that clear.
I,
And that needs to get out there so that if people are willing to donate, they get their money in.
I also think there's a lot of residents in this village that have never been through the door,
Correct.
Yeah.
even though they can go through for nothing.
Mhm.
As a village resident, they don't get chargeable. I know there's many of them, that, especially the young.
There's people that have been here a long time who will kick in if they know
Yeah,
really how dire it is.
and it's bad.
Yeah.
That condition
Yeah, like
report
I say,
really,
it's not
I mean,
condition,
I'm
it's
a little
repair that-
miffed with Nick that he just put it in the consent agenda that time instead of giving us the full condition report.
Oh,
You know, had we looked and seen it.
Well, I
we
can't
didn't
believe
do
we
that.
were considering a roof on top, it's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. I mean, you know, it's going down and we're doing something foolish. You know, we should be really thinking about the.
Right, until I read, I was all for the roof too, until I read the condition report that said that, well, the chimney needs to be fixed first. Well,
Which was the big question at the last Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Why are we doing this?
Right.
So do we, I mean, it would be Parks really that would do that legwork to kind of determine where to take this, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
On some legwork.
I don't think there's any choice, I think.
So what,
so do we need to make a motion to rescind the acceptance of the offer and
Well, if you want to-
turn this back to Parks and Rec?
If you want to take some time to decide, you know, don't go forward with the roof at this point and take a look at some of those things before you actually, Bill Morgan suggested if that's where you're like, okay, we're not ready to do the roof yet, we need to take a look at some of these other things. He suggested rescinding the acceptance of the offer on the roof. And so the contractor is aware of that, doesn't move forward. He indicated he would follow it up with a motion to table the acceptance of the little bid on the roof project until a specific time in the future, be it the next meeting, until Parks has an opportunity to look at the condition report, you know, whatever you want that
Okay.
Well,
item to be.
the other part of it is, do we have the $3,000 extra for the, put the logs back up? Where is that gonna come from?
Not in the sinking funds.
And I did ask Mike, if we, you know, if we didn't have money to put the logs up, I mean, right away, if he would still put them up as part of that bid, you know. So the labor part is included. He would do that.
But then
Anyway.
get the ones back up.
No, he would put the new ones up. I mean,
Just
just even
wait.
order, of course, but if we can't do it right away, he said he would, you know, do the work to get it finished. I don't know, I don't think we really want to do it that way, but I asked the question just in case.
He's got the materials for the logs, so the logs themselves, the stain and whatnot, $2,450, and then the charge for picking up and staining and getting them sawn in half is $600. So that's where the 3,000 came.
Okay. Well, I guess first we need a motion to rescind the acceptance offer. The original one, correct? Is that how you got word?
Yeah, we could just say all high top or.
isn't that a motion?
No. I mean, I will if you want me to. And, I'll make a
second it.
motion. I'll
I'll
make a
second it.
motion to rescind the acceptance offer on the Shelley roof.
Any second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we have to table something then? If you get caught up.
Yeah, he suggested then, because you have a bid there, if you want to use that at some point, you could table the acceptance of that low bid until whatever point in time. He suggested naming a specific, not just leaving it open-ended, but naming like So.
by a certain date.
Could be a date, could be until Parks Committee has had an opportunity to determine all
Okay.
necessary repairs. So
Can
in
we-
that order.
If we table it until a certain point in time, date, whatever, we get to that date and we're still not ready,
Table it
we
again?
can keep tabling it, yeah.
Okay.
Well, then what I would throw out is perhaps, so I'm just trying to see the calendar here, so first meeting would be the
Fourth.
4th, and then
Second
Parks
is
and
the
Rec would be the 12th. So then the second meeting would be the 18th. So I would throw out initially tabling it until the August 18th full board meeting, because that would give us the opportunity to have another Parks and Rec meeting, which may or may not be sufficient to get our ducks in a row, at which point we can bring it back on August 18th. And if it's not, we table it again.
Okay.
So I'll move to table until the August 18th board meeting with that amendment.
Second session's a full bid on roofing project to 18.
Yes.
No, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 9.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.